right. Well, I suppose this is all part of the process of finding my feet on the internet again. And, having made a couple of videos this month, thought I would hang out with you guys for a couple of hours. So, I have an agenda for today. I want to read to you guys the classic Robert Browning poem, Childe Roland to the Dark Tower Came. And then there's a Louis MacNiece poem that I wanted, I say poem, radio play. That's a bit over an hour that I wanted to listen to and comment on. And I've never heard this radio play. There are a couple connections to, I guess, what's going on for me right now. One is that I've had up on a tab for the past few days a favorite poem of mine, and so I've read it several times over these past few days. I may even read it to you guys during this stream. It's a Louis MacNiece poem, Bagpipe Music. I'm considering doing a video about how it is the best poem about the collapse of Western civilization. Maybe even better than a beast slouching its way to Bethlehem. The bagpipe music might actually be the death knell of the West. It was written in 1938. Anyway, this poem's been on my mind, so Louis MacNiece was on my mind. And then I was also kind of just glancing at some old poetry of mine, and there's a found poem is what it's called. A found poem is basically a copied poem, but copied from various sources. So text you find here and there. So I quoted from various poems and from a news article to create, I suppose, a poem about the death of romance. But one of its main lines, one of its repeating lines is Childe Roland to the Dark Tower Came. And, the death of romance and the death of the West. Related ideas. Anyway, so I thought I would do this thing. Share some things I'm familiar with you. And then experience something else that I am deeply unfamiliar with you. So I appreciate you guys being here. I hope everyone's well. Howdy, howdy. I'm drinking a little mate right now. Good of you all to stop in. Feel free to say hi. This is a live, so I will interact with things as I am able and as it is appropriate. All right. So I think what we'll do to begin, actually how we should begin, is not by the reading of Childe Roland, but by the reading of that poem I was telling you all about, Bagpipe Music. All right, let's zoom in on this bad boy a little bit. I mean, I love this poem. What's up, Marcio? Hello, Oscarl. All right. So I'm going to give you guys a little context. I mean, this is basically the video I was planning to do, the context. But so I would say that this poem is about the death of the West, really the death of British society. MacNiece was Northern Irish. Okay, so Church of Ireland, Northern Irish, the connections to Scotland. I'm going to gloss a couple of these things because, it's basically, it mentions all these things about life that's collapsing. And these are things that we would talk about today. Whoop. Where is that sound coming from? There we go. So, so for example, declining birth rates talked about here. sexual profligacy talked about here. There's one phrase that's worth glossing, which is to go upon the parish. To go upon the parish is to be on welfare. It was state welfare at this time even, but that phrase is a legacy of when the poor were cared for by the church. So that's what to go upon the parish means. I suppose the last gloss I should give is that just a reminder that fags are cigarettes. All right, let's do this thing. Bagpipe Music by Louis MacNiece. It's no-go the merry-go-round, it's no-go the rickshaw. All we want is a limousine and a ticket for the peep show. Their knickers are made of crepe de chine, their shoes are made of python, their halls are lined with tiger rugs, and their walls with heads of bison. John MacDonald found a corpse, put it under a sofa, waited till it came to life and hit it with a poker. Sold its eyes for souvenirs, sold its blood for whiskey, kept its bones for dumbbells to use when he was 50. It's no-go, the yogi man, it's no-go Blavatsky. All we want is a bank balance and a bit of skirt and a taxi. Anne McDougall went to milk, caught her foot in the heather, woke to hear a dance record playing of old Vienna. It's no-go your maidenheads, it's no-go your culture. All we want is a Dunlop tire and the devil mend the puncture. The Laird o' Phelps spent hogmanay declaring he was sober, counted his feet to prove the fact and found he had 1 foot over. Mrs. Carmichael had her fifth, looked at the job with repulsion, said to the midwife, take it away, I'm through with overproduction. It's no-go the gossip column, it's no-go the Cayley. All we want is a mother's help and a sugar stick for the baby. Willie Murray cut his thumb, couldn't count the damage, took the hide of an Ayrshire cow and used it for a bandage. His brother caught 300 cran when the seas were lavish, threw the bleeders back in the sea and went upon the parish. It's no-go the herring board, it's no-go the Bible. All we want is a packet of fags when our hands are idle. It's no-go the picture palace, it's no-go the stadium, it's no-go the country cot with a pot of pink geraniums. It's no-go the government grants, it's no-go the elections, sit on your ass for 50 years and hang your hat on a pension. It's no-go, my honey love, it's no-go, my poppet. Work your hands from day to day, the winds will blow the profit. The glass is falling hour by hour, the glass will fall forever. But if you break the bloody glass, you won't hold up the weather. That's a humorously written poem. Those closing lines have got to be just some of my favorite lines in poetry. If you break the bloody glass, you won't hold up the weather. So there it is. The collapse of society in a few brief, humorous verses. How do you guys respond to that poem? It's a favorite poem of mine, so besides you perhaps having encountered it before, you may have encountered it on my channel in some way. I appreciate that, Marcio. I will assume that you were applauding my amazing performance in reading it so beautifully, not just the verse of the skilled poet. Did I just miss the connection to bagpipes? I think that the connection there is more to the sort of, I don't want to speak ill of bagpipes because that's not what's intended here. But this skirling noise, right? What's more Celtic, what's more Scottish, remembering that he was Northern Irish, than bagpipes? But it turns out that it's all just a bunch of noise. Their identity is just a bunch of noise. That's how I interpret it. There was no direct mention of bagpipes for sure. To be honest, I'd never really thought about that. Well, I'm going to read to you guys Childe Roland, which is a pretty long poem, 5 pages here. Um, Childe Roland to the Dark Tower Came by Robert Browning, who lived through the middle of the 19th century. Elizabeth Barrett Browning, his famous wife, both poets. And then after that, we'll just sit back together and listen for as long as we like to the Dark Tower radio play by the poet who we just read. Pardon me, this mate is getting to me, y'all. All right. Well, yeah, let's do then Childe Roland to the Dark Tower Came. This poem is presented as a sort of dream. Some think the poet is putting himself in the place of Roland. And who's Roland? Roland is the Tony Stark, the Iron Man of the Middle Ages. A sort of superhero with obvious flaws, but obvious awesomeness. The Song of Roland is, of course, the most famous Roland story. But then there are a bunch of Orlando stories, which are Italian versions of that. And Roland was kind of like the epitome of the medieval epic paladin. And this poem is called Childe Roland. A child is a sort of knight that has not yet earned his spurs. Okay, so who has not yet proven himself. So this is almost being put out there as a sort of prequel. Before you knew the character, this is kind of what he went through, is sort of the idea there, by calling it Childe Roland. So Childe Roland to the Dark Tower Came. Now, one of the most remarkable things about this poem is how evocative it is by referencing and using references to classic works without, how should I put this, anything specific necessarily actually happening. But it ends up, I think, because of that, exploring some interesting themes. It would be something really cool maybe one day for you to try reading Alto da Barca do Inferno. Actually, I'm not familiar with that work in English. Do translations exist? I'm vaguely familiar with what an alto is, as a piece of Portuguese language literature, but only vaguely familiar. But already I agree. That would be cool. All right, Childe Roland to the Dark Tower Came. My first thought was, he lied in every word, that hoary cripple with malicious eye, askance to watch the working of his lie on mine, and mouth scarce able to afford suppression of the glee that pursed and scored its edge at one more victim gained thereby. What else should he be set for with his staff? What save to waylay with his lies and snare all travellers who might find him posted there, and ask the road? I guessed what skull-like laugh would break, what crutch gin write my epitaph for pastime in the dusty thoroughfare. If at his counsel I should turn aside into that ominous tract which, all agree, hides the Dark Tower, yet acquiescingly I did turn as he pointed, neither pride nor hope rekindling at the end descried, so much as gladness that some end might be. For what with my whole world-wide wandering, what with my search drawn out through years, my hope dwindled into a ghost not fit to cope. With that obstreperous joy success would bring, I hardly tried now to rebuke the spring my heart made, finding failure in its scope. As when a sick man very near to death seems dead indeed and feels begin and end, the tears and takes the farewell of each friend, and hears one bid the other go, draw breath freelier outside, since all is o'er, he saith, and the blow fallen no grieving can amend. While some discuss if near the other graves be room enough for this, and when a day suits best for carrying the corpse away, with care about the banners, scarves, and staves, and still the man hears all, and only craves he may not shame such tender love and stay. Thus I had so long suffered in this quest, heard failure prophesied so oft, been writ so many times among the band, to wit, the knights who to the dark tower's search addressed their steps, that just to fail as they seemed best. And all the doubt was now, should I be fit? So quiet as despair, I turned from him, that hateful cripple, out of his highway into the path appointed. All the day had been a dreary one at best, and dim was settling to its close, yet shot one grim red leer to see the plain catch its astray. For mark, no sooner was I fairly found, pledged to the plain after a pace or two, than pausing to throw backward a last view o'er the safe road, 'twas gone, grey plain all around, nothing but plain to the horizon's bound. I might go on, naught else remained to do. So on I went. I think I never saw such starved ignoble nature, nothing throve. For flowers, as well expect a cedar grove. But cockle, spurge, according to their law, might propagate their kind, with none to awe, you'd think. A burr had been a treasure trove. No, penury, inertness, and grimness, in the strange sort, were the land's portion. See or shut your eyes, said nature peevishly. It nothing skills, I cannot help my case. 'Tis the last judgment's fire must cure this place, calcine its clods, and set my prisoners free. If there pushed any ragged thistle stalk above its mate, the head was chopped. The bents were jealous else. What made those holes and rents in the dock's harsh swarth leaves, bruised as to balk all hope of greenness? 'Tis a brute must walk, pashing their life out, with a brute's intents. As for the grass, it grew as scant as hair in leprosy. Thin dry blades pricked the mud, which underneath looked kneaded up with blood. One stiff blind horse, his every bone a stare, stood stupefied, however he came there, thrust out past service from the devil's stud. Alive? He might be dead for aught I know, with that red, gaunt, and colloped neck a-strain, and shut-eyes underneath the rusty mane. Seldom went such grotesqueness with such woe. I never saw a brute I hated so. He must be wicked to deserve such pain. I shut my eyes and turned them on my heart. As a man calls for wine before he fights, I asked one draught of earlier, happier sights, ere fitly I could hope to play my part. Think first, fight afterwards, the soldier's art. One taste of the old time sets all to rights. Not it. I fancied Cuthbert's reddening face beneath its garniture of curly gold, dear fellow, till I almost felt him fold an arm in mine to fix me to the place that way he used. Alas, one night's disgrace, out went my fire's new fire and left it cold. Giles, then, the soul of honour, there he stands, frank as 10 years ago when knighted first. What honest man should dare, he said, he durst. Good, but the scene shifts. Faugh! What hangman hands pinned to his breast a parchment? His own bands read it. Poor traitor, spit upon and cursed. We'll take a brief break. Shocked, Yoshi, shocked. I am back. I mean, right now. Let us refresh our beverage. This line, by the way, is an absolute favorite of mine. What honest man should dare, he durst. I love that line. So may it be for us all, eh? All right. Better this present than a past like that. Back, therefore, to my darkening path again. No sound, no sight, as far as eye could strain. Will the night send a howlet of a bat? I asked, when something on the dismal flat came to arrest my thoughts, and change their train. A sudden little river crossed my path, as unexpected as a serpent comes, no sluggish tide congenial to the glooms. This, as it frothed by, might have been a bath for the fiend's glowing hoof, to see the wrath of its black eddy bespate with flakes and spumes. So petty, yet so spiteful all along, low scrubby alders kneeled down over it, drenched willows flung them headlong in a fit of mute despair, a suicidal throng. The river which had done them all the wrong, whate'er that was, rolled by, deterred no whit. Which while I forded, good saints, how I feared to set my foot upon a dead man's cheek, each step, or feel the spear I thrust to seek for hollows tangled in his hair or beard. It may have been a water rat I speared, but oh, it sounded like a baby's shriek. Glad was I when I reached the other bank. Now for a better country. Vain presage. Who were the strugglers? What war did they wage, whose savage trample thus could pad the dank soil to a plash? Toads in a poisoned tank, or wildcats in a red-hot iron cage. The fight must so have seemed in that fell cirque. What penned them there with all the plain to choose? No footprint leading to that horrid mews. None out of it. Mad brewage set to work, their brains no doubt like galley slaves the Turk pits for his pastime, Christian against Jews. And more than that, a furlong on, why there! What bad use was that engine for, that wheel or brake not wheel, that harrow fit to reel men's bodies out like silk, with all the air of Tophet's tool on earth left unaware, or brought to sharpen its rusty teeth of steel? Then came a bit of stubbed ground, once a wood, next a marsh it would seem, and now mere earth, desperate and done with. So a fool finds mirth, makes a thing and then mars it, till his mood changes and off he goes, within a rude bog, clay, and rubble, sand and stark black dearth. Now blotches rankling, colored gay and grim, now patches where some leanness of the soils, I think that's supposed to say colored gray and grim. I think this PDF has a couple of mistakes. Now patches where some leanness of the soils broke into moss or substances like thus. Then came some palsied oak, a cleft in him like a distorted mouth that splits its rim, gaping at death, and dies while it recoils. And just as far as ever from the end, not in the distance but the evening, not to point my footsteps further at the thought, a great black bird, Apollyon's bosom friend, sailed past, nor beat his wide wing dragon-penned that brushed my cap, perchance the guide I sought. For looking up, aware I somehow grew, spite of the dusk, the plain had given place all round to mountains, with such name to grace, mere ugly heights and heaps now stolen in view. How thus they had surprised me, solve it you, how to get from them was no clearer case. Saudade de mate amargo. Un mate. You know, I just want to make one comment before I proceed, and that is that this poem makes me think of Mordor. I think that in some way, the imagery of this plain on the other side of the river, where he is now, and you'll see more imagery like this, but even think about the great black bird, wide-winged dragon-penned, pennoned, right, feathered. You can think of the Nazgul. So, yeah, about the grayness, the flatness, and then the mountains to come. I mean, this really just makes me think. Even the ghostly horse with the red eyes, right? You can think of the mouth of Sauron. So there's a lot of imagery in here that I'll bet in some way informed Tolkien's imagination. Yet half I seem to recognize some trick of mischief happened to me, God knows when, in a bad perhaps. Here ended then progress this way, when in the very nick of giving up one more time came a click, as when a trap shuts, you're inside the den. Burningly it came on me all at once. This was the place, those two hills on the right, couched like two bulls locked horn in fight, while to the left a tall sculped mountain, tall scalped mountain, dunce dotard, a dozing at the very nonce, after a life spent training for the sight. What in the midst lay but the tower itself, the round squat turret, blind as the fool's heart, built of brown stone, without a counterpart in the whole world. The tempest's mocking elf points to the shipman, thus the unseen shelf he strikes on, only when the timbers start. Not see? Because of night, perhaps? Why, day came back again for that. Before it left, the dying sunset kindled through a cleft. The hills, like giants at a hunting, lay, chin upon hand to see the game at bay. Now stab and end the creature to the heft. Not here, when noise was everywhere. It tolled, increasing like a bell, names in my ears of all the lost adventurers, my peers. How such a one was strong, and such was bold, and such was fortunate, yet each of old lost, one moment knelled the woe of years. There they stood, ranged along the hillsides, met to view the last of me, a living frame for one more picture in a sheet of flame. I saw them, and knew them all. And yet, dauntless, the slughorn to my lips I set, and blew. Childe Roland to the dark tower came. Another poem whose last line, goodness gracious, just gets me. I love that line. Childe Roland to the dark tower came. A conclusion of this poem, but just suggestive of so much more. And the amazing thing is that this whole poem is about the journey, the quest. But we don't know what happens after he comes to the Dark Tower. And I find that beautiful, terrifying, and amazing. There you go. So, my plan now is to make a chilling to chill. We will, listen to this play. I would like to know though, guys. I'm getting a lot of skipped frames because my Wi-Fi must be responding poorly to the weather. How's the stream? How is the quality on the stream? Proveito. Okay, good. Thanks, everybody. Hey, Stuart, welcome. Okay, I'm very glad. Okay, so I can ignore these little frame rate. I mean, if I were playing a video game or something, I suppose I should worry about them, but I figured we'd be good for this sort of thing. Very glad to hear it. Okay. So yeah, that's the plan to listen to The Dark Tower by Louis MacNiece. So just as a sort of update everyone who's been coming in, we read a Louis MacNiece poem, one of my favorites, Bagpipe Music, and then we read Childe Roland to the Dark Tower Came. And this is a Louis MacNiece poem, a radio play in verse, that is based on the Dark Tower. And the cool thing is that I just read you guys two of my absolute favorite poems. I have never heard this, and I have never read this. This is going to be brand new for me as well. Mr. Wrighton just arrived. What is this all about? Well, there you go. You've got the context of this particular stream now. Mr. Wrighton, I don't recognize your name, so you are extra welcome, extra welcome. I hope you enjoy the channel. Marsu, it's hard for someone to recite poems on stream. It's a new experience. And there you go. Yeah, reading well in public is something that I have worked on. It's a skill that I think is something that is important. Let's see if I can bring some of this chat up a little bit. There we go. So a skill I've actually tried to develop with, and developing my kids and all that as well. So I'm glad you are appreciating them. All right, let's get this up a little higher. All right. Appreciate that, Mr. Wrighton. All right, so yeah, let's go ahead. So I will periodically stop it and perhaps comment, but mostly we're just going to chill and enjoy. And if you guys are in the chat typing away, I may even be able to. I'll join in on some of that. So what I mean by that is occasionally interacting in a way that doesn't interrupt the audio, and we can all just sort of enjoy it together. Okay, so here we go. I know that there's a little introduction. I listened to the brief introduction, but there's a little introduction from the BBC for this whole audio, and then we'll get into it. Nice. Well, I'm glad. Yeah, and I'm going to try to make more videos, Mr. Wrighton, that feature me smoking my pipe. It's just so easy to be here at my desk and make a video, but I can't smoke in this wretched place. Stuart, you mentioned a particular book years ago about about versification. Happen to remember the title. Yeah, I think I know the book. I think I know the book you're talking about. Let's see if I can spot it, because I'm not remembering the title. Let's see here. It was actually written as a sort of college textbook, so I might have it in my more pedagogical books. Oh, goodness. Okay, I think I might see it. Never mind. How to write a poem is the thing that came into my head, but I'm almost certain that's wrong. So yeah, really. I know exactly the book you're asking about. That's why I'm frustrated and being a bad streamer and looking around like this, because I know exactly the book you're talking about. Sorry, Stuart. Oh yeah, no, I let it happen, Stuart. It's on me. All right, here we go, guys.
Station for comedy, drama, and entertainment. BBC Radio 4 Extra.
Now we continue the series commemorating the death 30 years ago of the celebrated Welsh actor Richard Burton. With music especially composed by Benjamin Britten, this is the 1956 recording of Louis MacNiece's poetic drama starring Richard Burton as Roland, who was given the task of following in his brother's fatal footsteps to seek out a terror that looms in the Dark Tower. And apologies in advance for the archive sound quality.
The program which follows is a parable play, suggested by Robert Browning's poem, Childe Roland to the Dark Tower Came. The theme is the ancient but evergreen theme of the quest, the dedicated adventure. The manner of presentation is that of a dream, but a dream that is full of meaning. Browning's poem ends with a challenge blown on a trumpet. And yet, dauntless, the slug horn to my lips I set, and blew. Childe Roland to the Dark Tower came. Note well the words, and yet. Roland did not have to. He did not wish to. And yet, in the end, he came to the Dark Tower.
there now. That's the challenge. And mark this. Always hold the note at the end.
Yes, Sergeant Trumpeter, yes.
Why need Gavin hold the note at the end?
You're too young to know. It's all tradition.
What's tradition, Sergeant Trumpeter?
Ask Mother that one. She knows.
Aye, she knows. But run along, Sonny. Leave your brother to practice.
So I'm not going to be interrupting all the time, but I do want to pause a few times to give us some moments to talk about it. So as it's starting, I don't think it's in verse. I think I just assumed it was in verse because it was MacNiece. I'm gonna have to listen a little more carefully. But yeah, I love listening to radio plays, so I'm excited about this. Epic indeed.
No, again. Again. That's it now, but hold that last note. Hold it.
Mother, what's tradition?
Hand me that album. No, the black one.
Not the locked one.
Yes, the locked one. I have the key. Now, Roland, sit here by me on the sofa. We'll look at them backwards.
Why must we look at them backwards?
Because then you may recognize. Now, you know who this is.
Why, that's my brother Michael. And here's my brother Henry. Michael and Henry and Dennis and Roger and John. Do you keep this album locked because they're dead?
No, not exactly. Now, can you guess who this is?
That's someone I saw in a dream once.
It must have been in a dream. He left this house 3 months before you were born.
Is it my father?
Yes. And this is your grandfather. And this is his father. For the time being, you needn't look at the rest. This book goes back through 7 long generations, as far as George, the founder of the family.
And did they all die the same way?
They did, Roland. And now I've answered your question.
Question? What question, Mother? Ah, there's Gavin practicing. He's got it right at last.
I know the challenge. When can I leave? Tomorrow?
Why not today, Gavin?
Today? But I haven't yet checked my equipment. I mean, for such a long journey,
You will travel light, my son.
Well, yes, of course. Today, then.
Where are you going, Gavin?
Why, surely you know.
I know where he's going. Across the sea, like Michael.
That's right, Roland. Across the big, bad sea. Like Michael and Henry and Dennis and Roger and John. And after that, through the forest. And after that, through the desert.
What's the desert made of?
Well, I've never been there. Some deserts are made of sand and some are made of grit, but...
This one is made of doubts and dried up hopes.
And what do you find at the other end of the desert?
Oh, well,
You
well,
can tell him.
I find the Dark Tower.
Weird. It's quite surreal, right? It's like a family and little kids, and Gavin is going off to go to a desert where he will find a dark tower, and others have gone before, right? Like in the poem we read. That is some pretty epic trumpet playing. Yes, it is. Good times.
this is our first day of lessons, I trust I shall find you as willing a pupil as your 6 brothers before you.
Did you like teaching my brothers?
Like it? It was an honor. It was teaching to some purpose.
When's my brother Gavin coming back?
What?
Gavin. When's he coming back?
Roland. I see I must start from the beginning. I thought your mother'd have told you, but maybe being the youngest...
What would my mother have told me?
You ask when your brother Gavin is coming back. You must get this straight from the start. Your family never come back.
My family never...
No, don't let me scare you. Sit down on that stool and I'll try to explain.
Yes, sir.
Now, Roland, I said that to teach your brothers was an honor. Before your mother engaged me to tutor John, I was an usher in a great city. I taught 24 lads in a class.
24?
The sons of careerists, salesmen, middlemen, half-men, governed by greed and caution. It was my job to teach them enough, and only enough, to fit them for making money. Means to a means. But with your family, it is a means to an end.
My family don't make money.
They make history.
And what do you mean by an end?
I mean, surely they told you. I mean, the Dark Tower.
Will I ever go to the Dark Tower?
Of course you will. That's why I'm here.
Oh, well, that's different.
It is.
That means I'll fight the dragon?
Yes. But let me tell you, we call it the dragon for short. It is a nameless force, hard to define. For no one who has seen it, apart from those who have seen its handiwork, has returned to give an account of it.
No one's
All that
returned.
we know is there is something there which makes the Dark Tower dark and is the source of evil through the world. It is immortal, but men must try to kill it and keep on trying, so long as we would be human.
What would happen if we just let it alone?
Well, some of us would live longer. All of us would lead a degraded life, for the dragon would be supreme over our minds as well as our bodies. Gavin and Michael and Henry and Dennis and Roger and John.
You know, I have to say that Cristiano! E aí? Bem-vindo, meu querido de Aracaju. Olha, eu tô te dando as boas-vindas dessa forma porque você merece. Tá? Eu fico grato que você fica lá comentando e pedindo conteúdo em português, tá? So, yeah, so much beautiful, true, good stuff came out of the last resistance to modernity in Britain. And I am just overjoyed to find this piece. We call it the dragon for short, and we must fight it if we want to stay human. What will happen if we leave it alone? Well, some of us will live longer. Holy moly, this is enormous.
He might still be here. Perhaps your father, too. He would be 75. But mark this well. They would not be themselves. Do you understand?
I'm not quite sure I do understand.
You are still small. We'll talk of the dragon later. Now, come to the blackboard and we'll try some Latin. You see this sentence?
Per ardua.
Per ardua ad astra.
What's
Whoa.
It does not
Through
refer
suffering
to
to the stars.
We have
That
the
actually
word
shows up in a lot
honor.
of 20th century
It is
things.
obsolete. Try the word duty. And there's another word. Necessity.
necessity? That's a bit hard to spell.
You'll have to spell it, I fear. Repeat this after me. N
N
E
E
C E
Ah, God. There's the bell for Gavin. He had the greatest power to his lungs of the lot of them. And now, he's another name in the roll of honor where Michael's is still new gold. 5 years it is. Or would it be more like 6 since we tolled for Michael? Bells and trumpets, trumpets and bells. I'll have to be learning the young one next. Then he'll be away too, and my lady will have no more.
No more children, Sergeant Trumpeter?
I beg your pardon, I didn't see you.
No matter. But know this. I have one more child to bear.
What?
No, I'm not mad. You needn't stare at me, Sergeant. This is a child of stone.
A child of
stone. To be born on my deathbed. No matter. I'm speaking in metaphor.
Oh, that's all right then. How's young Roland making out at his lessons?
I don't know. Roland lacks concentration. He's not like my other sons. He's
Yeah, I
almost
know.
flippant. He's always asking questions.
He's young yet.
Gavin was his age once. So were Michael and Henry and Dennis and Roger and John. They never forgot what they learnt. And they asked no questions.
Well, by the time that Roland comes to me, when he's had his fill of theory and is all set for action, in another half dozen years, when he comes to learn the trumpet call.
Hush, don't talk of it now. Let one bell toll at a time.
I like the atmospherics.
So ends our course on ethics. Thank you, Roland. Thank you, sir. After all these years, our syllabus is concluded. You have a brain. What remains to be tried is your will. Remember our point today. The sensitive man is the more exposed to seduction.
Okay, so now Roland is a man. Time has passed. And I kind of love that this work is embracing the fact that it's a radio play. You can know from the voice alone. It is interesting from an educational point of view that he started with spelling and Latin and is culminating. They are finally ending the syllabus after 10 years or whatever with some ethics.
In 6 years, I've come to know you. You have a warm heart. It is perhaps too warm for a man with your commission. Therefore, be careful. Keep to your one resolve, your single code of conduct. Listen to no one who doubts your values. And above all, Roland, never fall in love. That is not for you. If ever a hint of love should enter your heart, you must arise and go. That's it. Go.
Huh.
Yes, Roland, my son. Go quickly.
Why must you go so quickly? Now that the sun's come out.
I have my lesson to learn.
You're always learning lessons. I begin to think you prefer your books to me.
Oh, but Sylvie, this isn't books anymore.
Not books? Then
I'm learning to play the trumpet.
Don't fall in love. And immediately we're with Sylvie.
Roland, you make me laugh. Is this another idea of your mother's?
Sylvie,
I needn't ask. What's all this leading to?
I could tell you, darling, but not today. Today is a thing in itself, apart from the future. Whatever follows, I will remember this tree with its dazzle of sun and shadow. And I will remember the mayflies jigging above us in the delight of the dying instant. And I remember you with the bronze lights in your hair.
Yes, darling, but why so sad? There will be other trees and...
Each tree is itself. Each moment is itself. Inviolable gifts of time, of God. But you cannot take them with you.
Take them with you? Where?
Kiss me, Sylvie. I'm keeping my teacher waiting.
His Samson moment, perhaps. You're right, Oscarl. The trumpets are awesome.
Nicely blown. Nicely blown. You've graduated, me lad. But remember, when I'm not here, hold the note at the end.
You mean when I'm not here?
Aye, you're right. But you're my last pupil. I'll be shutting up shop. I want you to do me credit. When you've crossed the sea and the desert and come to the place itself, I want you to do me credit when you unsling that horn.
I hope I will.
I'm sure you will.
Sergeant,
Uh-huh.
do you believe in all this?
All what?
Do you think that there really is any dragon to fight?
What are you saying? What was it killed Gavin and Michael and Henry and Dennis and Roger and John and your father himself and his father before him and all of them back to George?
I don't know, but nobody's seen this dragon.
Seen
Those
him?
are all the names of famous
Seen
knights.
what he's done. Have you ever talked to blind Peter?
No,
I thought not. Cooped up here in the castle, inside this big black ring of smothering yew trees, you never mixed with the folk.
But I haven't had the
But
chance.
before you leave, if you want a reason for leaving, I recommend that you pay a call on Peter. And his house is low. Mind your head as you enter.
That's right, sir. Mind your head as you enter. Now take that chair. It's the only one with springs. I saved it from my heyday. Well, now, sir, it's kind of you to visit me.
I'm very glad to be here.
I can tell you by voice alone that you're your father's son. Your handshake's not so strong, though.
Why, was my father...
He had a grip of iron. What's more, sir, he had a will of iron. And what's still more again, he had a conscience, which is something we all need. I should know.
Why?
Why what?
Why do you sound so sad when you talk about having a conscience?
Because his conscience is something a man can lose. It's cold in here. I'll make a long story short. 50 years ago when I had my sight, but the dragon was loose at the time.
The dragon?
I had a job and a wife and a newborn child, and I believed in God. Until one day, I told you the dragon was loose at the time, no one had challenged him lately, so he came out from his den, what some people call the tower.
The dragon was loose at the time. That's interesting apocalyptic imagery. Ainda mora nos Estados Unidos.
And creeping around, he got to our part of the world. Nobody saw him, of course. There was just like a kind of a bad smell in the air, and everything went sour. People's mouths and eyes changed their look overnight, and the government changed too. And as for me, I woke up feeling different. And when I looked in the mirror that first morning, the mirror said, Informer.
Informer?
Yes, sir. My new role. They passed a pack of laws forbidding this and that, and anyone breaking them, the penalty was death. I grew quite rich sending men to their death.
You sent men to their...
The last I sent was my wife's father.
But did you believe in these laws?
Believe? Did I believe in anything? God had gone round the corner. I was acquiring riches. But to make a long story short, when they hanged my wife's father, my wife took poison, so I was left with the child. Then the child took ill, scared me stiff, so I sent for all the doctors. I could afford them then, but they couldn't discover anything wrong in its body. It was more as if its soul was set on quitting. And indeed, why not? To be a human being, people agree, is difficult.
Then the child...
Quit. Yes, she quit, but slowly. I watched it happen. That's why now I'm blind.
Why? You don't mean that you, yourself...
When you've seen certain things, you don't want to see no more. Tell me, sir, are people's faces nowadays as ugly as they were?
What a great line. Are people's faces nowadays as ugly as they were? I have to say, like, this guy's name is Peter. Is he supposed to represent the church in some way? And is it, you know, the faithlessness of the church and then the faithfulness? Is the faithlessness of the Gentiles and then their faithfulness? It's very interesting to consider that it might be the church, and he Roland has to go out from this place. Is that so? Sort of like going out from the church into the world, or maybe he's not supposed to represent the church at all.
You know what I mean? Evil?
No, not most of them. Some, I suppose.
Those ones belong to the dragon.
Oh, why put the blame of everything on the dragon? Men have free choice, haven't they? Free choice of good or evil?
That's just it. And the evil choice is the dragon. But I needn't explain it to you, sir. You've made up your mind. You're like your father, one of the dedicated whose life is a quest, whose death is a victory. Yes, God bless you. You've made up your mind.
Have I, Peter? Have I?
Really made up your mind?
I go away today.
That's no answer. You go away because they tell you to. Because your mother's brought you up on nothing but out-of-date beliefs and mock heroics. It's easy enough for her.
Easy for her, who was given her flesh and blood, and I'm the seventh son.
I've heard all that. They call it sacrifice. But each new death is a stone in a necklace to her. Your mother, Roland, is mad.
The world is mad.
Not all of it, my love. Those who have power are mad enough. But there are people, Roland, who keep themselves to themselves, or rather, to each other, living a sane and gentle life in a forest nook or a hill pocket, perpetuating their kind and their kindness, keeping their hands clean and their eyes keen, at one with themselves, each other, and nature. I had thought that you and I, perhaps...
There is no perhaps in my tradition, Sylvie.
You mean in your families? Isn't it time you saw that you were different? You're no knight-errant, Roland.
No, I'm not. But there is a word. Necessity.
Necessity? You mean your mother's orders?
Not quite. But apart from that, I saw a man today. They call him Blind Peter.
Leave the blind to mislead the blind. That Peter is where he is because of his own weakness. You can't help him, Roland.
Maybe not, but maybe I can do something to prevent a recurrence of Blind Peter.
Imagination.
Imagination? That things can be bettered, that action can be worthwhile, that there are ends which, even if not reached, are worth approaching. Imagination? Yes. I wish I had it. I have a little. You should support that little and not support my doubts. Listen. There is the drum. They are waiting for me at the gate. Sylvie, I must...
Kiss me at least.
I shall...
I am loving this. I am already determined to have a listen to this with the family as well.
Never...
See me again? You will, Roland. You will. I know you. You will set out, but you won't go on. Your common sense will triumph. You'll come back. And your love for me will triumph. And in the end...
This is the end. Goodbye.
To you, Roland, my last message. For 7 years I have been your tutor. You have worked hard on the whole, but whether really you have grasped the point of it all remains to be seen. A man lives on a sliding staircase, sliding downwards, remember. To be a man, he has to climb against it, keeping level, or even ascending slightly, he will not reach the top, if there is a top. And when he dies, he will slump and go down regardless. All the same, while he lives, he must climb. Remember that. And I thank you for your attention. Goodbye, Roland.
To you, Roland, my last message. You are off now on the quest, like your brothers before you, to take a slap at the evil that never dies. Well,
Just take a slap at the evil that never dies?
sling it around your waist and keep it bright and clean till the time comes when you have to sound the challenge, the first and the last time. And I trust you will do your old instructor credit and put the fear of God or of man into that dragon. That's all now. God bless you. But remember, hold that note at the end.
To you, Roland, my last message. Here is a ring with a blood-red stone. So long as this stone retains its color, it means that I retain my purpose in sending you on the quest. I put it now on your finger.
Mother, it burns.
That is the heat in the stone. So long as the stone is red, the ring will burn, and that small circle of fire around your little finger will be also the circle of my will around your mind. I gave a ring like this to your father, Roland, and to John and Roger and Dennis and Henry and Michael, and to Gavin, the last before you. My will was around and behind them. Should ever you doubt or waver, look at this ring and feel it burn, and go on.
Mother, before I go...
No more words. Go. Turn your face to the sea. Open the gate there. The march of departure, Sergeant. Let my son go out.
More trumpets.
And make the music gay.
Forgive me stopping you, sir.
Forgive you? Certainly not.
But I was merely going
I'm on my way to the tavern.
I'm on my way to the quays. Is it this turning or next?
Any turning you like. Look down these stinking streets. There's sea at the end of each of them. Yes, young man. But what's at the end of the sea? Never believe what they said when you booked your passage.
But I haven't booked it yet.
Not booked your passage yet? Why, then there's no need to hurry.
But I
You
have
come
to
with
hurry.
me to the tavern. It's only a step.
I cannot spare a step.
All right, all right. If you won't come to the tavern must come to you. Oh, there, music. That's the idea. Music does wonders, young man.
So I do know a little something about the music to tell you guys. I don't know a lot about this piece, but before the stream I did read a little bit about it. The composer was instructed by Louis MacNiece to write as spare, I think the word was spare, as spare a soundtrack as possible. Oh, but it was, you know, the it's not just random music. It is actually planned to go with this piece.
Music can build a palace, let alone a pub. Come on, you masons of the muses, swing it, fling me up 4 walls. Now, don't drop your tempo. Easy with those hodds. All right, 4 walls. Now benches, tables. No doors or windows. What drunk wants daylight? But you've left out the bar. Come on, cellos, percussions, all of you, a bar. That's right. Dismiss. Barmaid?
Yes, sir.
Give us whatever you have and make it triple.
Just a small one for me, please.
Oh, don't be so objective. One would think, looking at your long face, that there's a war on. But there is no war on. And you have no face. Drink up. Don't be objective.
What in the name of...
Look, dearie, don't mind him. He's always talked like that.
There is no war on, and you have no face. I mean, this thing is blowing my mind.
Take my tip. You're new here, and this town is a seaport. The tone is rather... You go somewhere inland.
But how can I? I have to go to sea.
Well, the sea out there leads nowhere.
Come, sweetheart, the same again.
Nowhere. I've warned you. As for our friend here, don't stay too long in his company.
What's that? Don't stay too long in my what?
Company was the word.
Company? I have none. Why, how could I? There's never anyone around where I am. I exist for myself, and all the rest is projection. Come on, projection, drink. Dance on your strings and drink.
Obliging, dearie, obliging.
There, my projection drinks. I wrote this farce before I was born, you know, this puppet play in my mother's womb, dear boy. I have never abdicated the life of the womb. Watch, Mabel. My new puppet drinks again. A pretty boy, but I've given him no more lines. Have I, young man? You see, he cannot speak. All he could do henceforward is to drink. Look, a pull on the strings, the elbow lifts. Give him the same again.
Well, oh well.
There is no well about it, except the well that has no bottom and that fills the world. Triplets, I said. Where are those damned musicians? Back up, you puppets. Play! Good. Serenade me now till I fall asleep in all the notes of one. And all the sounds are silence. Unity, Mabel. Unity is my motto. The end of drink is a whole without any parts. A great black sponge of night that fills the world.
What is a quest without the Lotus Eaters moment?
And when you squeeze it, Mabel, it drips inward. You want me to squeeze it? Right. Piano over there. Piano, I'm asleep. Didn't you hear me? Piano, puppet. All right. Pianissimo. Issimo. Issimo. Issimo.
A puppet, a projection, how he lies. And yet, I've sometimes thought the same, but the other way round. There is no evidence for anything except my own existence. He says his, but he's wrong anyway. Look at him snoring there. If I were something existing in his mind, how could I go on now that he's asleep?
Because I'm dreaming you.
Dreaming?
Yes, sir. He does have curious dreams.
Yes. And the curious thing about my dreams is that they always have an unhappy ending for all except the dreamer. Thus, at the moment, you would never guess, young man, what role I've cast you for.
Never mind, dear. Tomorrow we'll wake up.
Tomorrow he'll wake up. And I? Shall I wake up? Perhaps to find that this whole quest is a dream. Perhaps I'm still at home, in my bed by the window, looking across the valley, between the yew trees to where Sylvie lives. Not among yews, but apples.
All aboard!
What's that?
All aboard!
You'd never guess what happens in my dreams.
All aboard! All aboard!
The dream is interesting because it is largely supposed that the Childe Roland to the Dark Tower came is being presented as a dream, although I don't think that's a necessary interpretation. The last British dream I was exposed to a couple of nights ago, I watched the 1983 stop motion Wind in the Willows, and the port scene in that particular version is especially compelling. It was interesting to see the sea portrayed as such an adversary in both of those pieces.
Come along there, young man, unless you want to be left. All aboard for the further side of the sea, for the dead end of the world and the bourne of no return. All aboard, ladies and gents, knaves and fools, babes and sucklings, Philistines, Pharisees, parasites, pimps, nymphos, and dipsos. All aboard! Lost souls and broken bodies make it snappy. That's right, folks. Mind your feet on the gangway. Steward!
Take it, thank you. Take it, thank you. Take it, thank you. Take it, thank you. Easy to make it.
Bye now. Bye-bye now. Bye-bye now. Bye now. Thanks for flying with us. Bye now. Bye-bye now.
Show you your stateroom. Hot and cold, and a blue light over the bed. Ring once for a drink, twice for an aspirin. Now, if you want anything else, a manicure, for example.
No, steward, a sleeping draught.
Sir, in the morning.
Morning be damned, my head aches.
Drinking last night, sir?
Thinking.
Thinking? That's too bad, sir. But you'll soon get over that, sir. In this ship, nobody thinks, sir. Why should they? They're at sea, sir, so their brains must be at sea, sir. And if your brain's at sea, sir...
Listen, I want a sleeping draught. How many times do I have to ring for that?
As many times as you like, sir, if you can keep awake, sir.
Damn you, sir.
But talking of sleeping draughts, sir, do you hear that lady playing the fiddle?
Fiddle? No, I don't.
Ah, that's because she plays it in her head.
What do you mean, plays it in her head?
But she's a very nice lady, sir. Her name, sir, is Nyla.
Why should I care what her name is? I tell you, steward...
Of course, if you'd rather play tombola...
Tombola?
Game of chance, sir. They call out numbers, kills the time, sir. Rather like life, sir. You can buy your ticket now in the lounge. The ship started, you know, sir.
Oh? So the ship started? But I can't hear the engines.
Can't you, sir? I was right then.
Right? What do you mean?
I thought so the moment I saw you. You don't, sir. Of course you don't.
Don't what, damn you? Don't what?
You don't know where you're going, sir.
Lickety-click, 6 to 6. Kelly's eye, number one. And we shake the bag.
startled me.
I'm sorry,
No, sit.
Those are all musical terms having to do with pace. That must connect to the theme of journey, you know? And of course, you know, music is being played. She plays the violin in her head. We were hearing it.
So you're going nowhere too?
On the contrary, madam,
Call me Nyara.
But
And I'll call you Roland.
How do you know my name?
A little bird told me. A swan, if you want to know. He sang your name. And he died. That's right. Sit down. I've seen your dossier, too.
Seen my...
Oh, yes, Liebchen. In the captain's cabin.
How can I have a dossier? I've done nothing.
That's just it. It's dull. But the future part amuses me. Oh, yes, my dear. This dossier includes the future. And you don't come out of it well.
What do you mean?
You never believed in this quest of yours, you see. The dark tower, the drug, and all this blood. That's why you were so easy to seduce in the idle days at sea. The days that are just beginning.
Wow. Very ominous. I love that she has seen his future. Okay, I need to take a little break. There must be peeing. So I'm going to take a little break. I will be back in just 2 shakes of a lamb's tail. And it takes 1 minute for a lamb to shake its tail once. All right, let us resume this party.
He of the door, 21. 11th hour, 11. 10 commandments, 9. Ellie's eyes, number 1. And we shake the bag.
Lento. Accelerando. Presto. Calando. Morendo.
Dying.
Well, sir, so the lady is still practicing.
Huscarl, as always, I appreciate your presence. Hope Parish Group is awesome. Greetings to the saints. Who? I hope you enjoy your return to the archived video later on. Peace, brother.
Golden days, sir. Golden days. At sea, sir, have you noticed one doesn't notice time? You probably feel you just came on board yesterday, and yet you got your sea legs weeks ago, sir.
Sea legs? Why, this trip has been so calm, I've never felt the
That's right, sir. Never feel. There's nothing in life but profit and pleasure. Allegro esse. Some people plump for pleasure, but I now fancy the profit.
I hear you.
Ah, thank you, sir. Thank you. The sea today in the sun, sir, looks like, what shall I say, sir?
Sea today? A dance of golden sovereigns.
The sea today is a adagio of doves.
The sea today is gulls and dolphins.
The sea today is knots and crosses.
And we shake the bag!
The sea today, Roland, is crystal.
The sea today, Niara, is timeless.
The sea today is drums and fifes.
The sea today is broken bottles.
The sea today is snakes and ladders.
Especially snakes. Especially snakes.
Roland, what's that ring? I've never seen one like it.
There is no other ring like it.
Strange ring for a man. My color, you know, that red. Why do you twitch your finger?
Because it burns.
It burns? Like tingling ears, perhaps.
Very interesting. A ring that burns the quest taker.
Someone is thinking of you.
What? I hope not. Come, darling, let's have a drink.
And we shake the bag!
The sea today is drunken marble.
The sea today is silver stallions.
The sea today is... tell me, steward, where's all this floating seaweed come from?
I imagine, sir, forgive me mentioning it, that we are approaching land.
Land?
Yes, sir, but you won't be landing, of course. The best people never land, sir.
No? I suppose not.
You son of...
I'm sorry for interrupting twice in quick succession. I love an island of lotus eaters that's not an island, but a ship. It's effectively what we're dealing with here.
Oh. Con forza. Accelerando. Crescendo.
Any more for the shore? Any more for the shore? Line up there on the forward deck, all what wants to chance the neck. Any more for the shore?
This way, thank you. This way, thank you. This way, thank you. This way, thank you.
Any more? Hurry up, please. But remember this, once you're off, you can't come back, not ever on board. We leave at once. At once.
This way, thank you. This way, thank you. This way, thank you. This way, thank you.
You shoving. What's the blinking hurry?
That's right.
Some people seem very keen to land in the future. Can't use their eyes, if you ask me.
That's right. Look at them vicious rocks.
And that tumble-down shack one thinks it's a customer's house.
And them horrible mountains behind
You'd
it.
think this country was uninhabited.
This way, thank you. This way, thank you. This way, thank you. Okay, sir, that's the lot.
Gangway up. Gangway up. Get away there. Mind your heads.
What are you staring at, Roland? Come away, Lippian. The show's over. There goes the gangway. We're moving out now. What are you staring at, darling?
Was that... I couldn't see in the face of the sun, but... Steward, you've sharp eyes.
Sir?
Did you see over there on the quay, sitting on a rusty bollard?
Hush, Nehyra will hear you. Yes, sir. A very nice piece. She was looking at you, sir, too. Staring, in fact, one might say. Seems to be staring still.
Can it be?
But what's she doing now? Climbing up on the bollard? Good Lord, sir, that's bad form. She's making gestures.
Sylvie. I knew it. Out of my way there.
Here, stop him! Stop him!
So Sylvie was with him in his youth and in his training. If Sylvie's name refers to the forest, then perhaps she is some sort of general revelation as far as representation goes. Perhaps she is the call of the Fae, which can lead to the call of the waking to God. So first you have to wake to the world. Perhaps, because these people are all asleep, right? Perhaps that's what Sylvie is supposed to represent. It certainly is a bit of a Fae thing for her to suddenly be here at this island, unless the ship has come back to where they left from.
Commander, don't let him jump!
Roland, come back!
Man overboard! Man overboard! Life boy! Where's your life boy?
John, this here ship don't carry no life boys. Nor he won't need one. Look, he's climbing up on the quay.
And we shake the leg!
Well, James, that's that.
Yes, madam.
You can drop them, madam, now.
Yes, Niara, my sweetie pie.
That's more like it, James, my great big He-Man. Come to my cabin now. We'll count the takings.
There she goes now.
There she goes now. Roland, you are a hypocrite.
No, Sylvie. Merely a sleepwalker.
The sea must have been cold. Come, let's walk.
How did you get here, Sylvie?
I followed you, but not on a luxury liner. Mine was a cargo boat. Its limit was 7 knots.
And yet you got here first. Now I suppose you regret it. Are you going to leave me, Sylvie?
How can I? We're marooned here. This is a desolate land. I suggest we keep together.
You have the gift of forgiveness.
I have the gift of common sense. As you're bound to be seduced from your so-called quest, in future, Roland, leave the seducing to me. Or can't I perhaps compete with your ladies of pleasure?
Pleasure? That was not pleasure.
It was, but it was not happiness.
And you offer me happiness?
You doubt that I have it to offer.
No, I don't doubt that. But my tutor always said, happiness cannot be taken as a present.
Forget your tutor. This is a foreign land where no one will interfere with us.
No one? No man, perhaps.
What do you mean by that?
Look round you, Sylvie. See the deserted port, the ruined shacks, the slag heaps covered with lichen, and behind it all the frown and fear of the forest.
The forest. The ruins covered with lichen. This, I think she is. She is the Fae, the Green. And she can serve to wake him from a hedonistic stupor. But she cannot wake him to the divine. He must quest beyond her.
This is the dragon's domain.
Roland, how childish you are.
You think so? Look at this notice that flaps here on the hoarding. And this one, and this one, and this one.
Wanted for murder. Wanted for murder. Wanted...
You're reading the words wrong. Not for, Sylvie. To.
Wanted to murder. You're right. But what does it mean?
It means we are on a soil where murder pays.
It pays in many places.
Yes, but here, the paymaster is the government. And payday is every day of the week. The dragon's doing, I tell you.
Well, if it is, you can't cure it. At the best, you can cure yourself. And that only through love.
Love?
Through me, Roland. Through me.
Yes. I think you're right. Sylvie, take this ring. I cannot wear it now. I have failed this ring. But this ring will not fail you.
You mean?
Yes. Let me put it on your finger.
Not yet, Roland. That must be done in a church.
Where can we find a church around here?
What a strange color. Like the blood of a child.
I repeat, where can we find a church or chapel here?
Scusa. Lady and gentleman want guide to chapel?
God, where did this come from?
Me? Me come from sewer.
Who is this?
Me accredited guide. Very good, very funny. Lady and gentleman want see chapel today?
Where is this chapel of yours?
Chapel not mine. Chapel belong to God. Me take you there up this road, see? Me tell you history. Very much history. Chief. That chapel bell. Ting-a-ling for the wedding.
What wedding?
Me not know. No, sir, nobody know. Happy pair not come yet.
Roland, this is a sign. Tell him to show us the way.
Oh, me show you the way, sure. Beautiful lady, put best feet first. Chapel up there in forest.
In the forest?
Sure, boss. Oh, chapel old. Chapel in forest before a forest grew. But needs repairs now bad. Haunted, too.
Haunted?
Sure, boss. Plenty ghosts. Ooh. Ooh, me need bonus for them ghosts.
You'll have your bonus. Only get us there quick.
Sissy, you come.
Sylvie, we will exorcise these ghosts. You know how, my dearest?
I know how.
It's almost like an intermission, longer piece of music, you know?
You have the ring? Good. Before I complete this ceremony, making you man and wife, I must deliver a warning. The original sin...
Nice, Marcia.
Doubt. And in these days of contempt for the individual, it is also the topical sin. So, if either of you have doubts of the holiness of marriage, or if either of you have doubts of the other, and can conceive a time when he or she will think again and wish this thing undone, now is your time to speak. Good. So you have no doubts. There is one other formality. Although there is no congregation present, although apart from ourselves and a few sparrows and field mice, this chapel is now empty, I must still put the question. If anyone here know just cause or impediment...
I do. I do. I do.
This young man who's come to you to get married promised me when he left a week before I died as he would avenge my blindness and bring it about how no one should go the way I went in future. Well, has he done it? No, and he'll never do it. Not if you splice him up to that poor, simple girl who only dreams how he and she will be happy.
No, Roland, my brother. Blind Peter is right. Forget your dreams of a home. You can never be happy if you forsake the quest. And if you could, happiness is not all. You must go on. Turn your back on this chapel. Go on through the forest, alone, always alone, and then across the desert, and at the other end of that desert...
You will find what I found, Roland.
You?
You should know my voice, though you never heard it. Though you had not seen me, you knew my portrait.
My father?
I am still waiting to be your father. While you may linger, you are no son of mine. Well?
Sylvie.
I know what you want. Your ring. There. Back on your finger. Look how it glows in this darkness.
Glows? It will burn me up.
Roland, before we part...
This chapel is now closed. I'm sorry. Goodbye, my daughter. Your way lies back by the road you came over the hopeless sea, back to your little house and your apple orchard. And there you must marry one of your own kind, and spray the trees in spring and raise the ladders in autumn, and spread the shining crop on the spare room floor and...
Sylvie, before we part...
This chapel is now closed. I'm sorry. Goodbye, my son. Your way lies forward. Forward through the gibbering guile of the forest. Forward through the silent doubt of the desert. And here let me warn you. If
the gibbering guile of the forest. I love that because the desert is sparse. The forest is going to be a cacophony of distractions. So gibbering guile makes a lot of great sense. However, it also sounds a bit like nonsense, and it makes me think of Jabberwocky, even though the words actually do mean something in this case.
in the forest you hear any voices call from the trees, pay no attention, Roland. Pay no attention.
Who's this coming now?
Who's a walking in my forest?
The leaves have fallen.
He's walking late.
He's looking pale.
His bones will be paler.
Here he comes.
Greet him.
Where are you going, Roland, so fast?
Roland, running away from your past. You can't do that. You can't do that.
Still on the road, still on the quest.
None achieve it but the best.
You're
not the sort. You're not the sort.
Why not stop, my dear young man?
Let heroes die as heroes can.
You must live.
You must live.
He's passed us by.
That devil, take him.
That devil will...
forest was bad enough, but this beats all. When my tutor described it to me, it sounded strange. But now I'm here, with the grit of it filling my shoes. I find that the worst thing about it is this. The desert is something familiar, and with no end. No end.
Tick-tock, tick-tock, sand and grit, bones and waste, a million hours, all the same, a million minutes, each an hour, and nothing stops, for nothing starts, but the hands move, the dead hands move, the desert is the only clock, tick-tock, 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 tick-tock.
Flat. No shape. No color. Only here and there, a mirage of the past. Something I've met before. Figures arising from dust, repeating themselves, telling me things that I have no wish to remember. Mirage. Mirage.
I think one of the most interesting themes of this whole thing is the combination of seduction with monotony.
Mirage.
Tick-tock, 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 tick-tock.
A pretty boy, but I've given him no more lines. He'd never guess what happens in my dream. Look, a pull on the wire, his feet move forward. Left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right,
tick-tock.
Golden days, sir, golden days. In the desert, sir, have you noticed? One doesn't notice time, but I thought so the moment I saw you. You don't know where you're going. Golden days, golden days, golden days, golden days, golden days, golden days.
Adagio, rallentando. This dossier include your future.
As I said,
You don't
monotony
come out of
and
it
seduction.
But kiss me, Roland, kiss me, 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 kiss me.
But why must you go so quickly, now that the sun's come out? You, Roland, you're no knight-errant. Your love for me will triumph. You'll come back. Then you and I, 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 you and I.
Shapes of dust and fancy. Unreal voices. But where is the voice that launched me on my road? Where is the shape that I remember? Why doesn't she appear even in fancy? It is the least she could do. Mother, where are you? Yes, you. I'm calling you. My mother who sent me forth. It was all your doing. But for you, I who had no beliefs of my own, I who had no will of my own, should not be here today pursuing a dark tower that is...
One of the most interesting elements of this is that this is, well, it's very big. But one of the things that it's definitely about is the nature of masculinity and the questing nature of masculinity. You can see even in this graphic, see there are two faces in this graphic on either side, and both of those faces are feminine. It's so significant that he's calling on his mother now, because all these other women have been trying to pull him off the path, whether they wish him ill or wish him good. Now he calls upon his mother.
It's only dark because it does not exist. And mother, it is only your will that drives me still, as signified in the blood-red stone I wear on my finger under my glove, which burns me like a living wheel. Burns me. Burns me. It always has. Have Have I gone numb? I can feel nothing. Off with this glove. I can't believe that... The ring. The ring. The color is gone. The blood has gone out of it. But that must mean... That means...
It means, my son, that I want you back.
And the quest, then?
Lapses. On my deathbed I have changed my mind. I am bearing now a child of stone. He can go on the quest. But you, Roland, come back.
The ring is always right. Recall, reprieve, 1,000 years of sunshine, and the apples will be in bloom round Sylvie's house. Was that my mother's voice? Look at the ring.
Good question.
It is as pale as death. There is no more breach of duty. Her will is not behind me. Breach of duty? If she is dying, there is the breach of duty, not to be there. Mother, you sent me out, and I went out. Now that you call me back, I will come back. The desert take this ring. It serves no further purpose. What was that? Must have struck something hard. Why, that's the first sound I've heard in the desert. Where did I throw that ring? A stone. But a carved stone. Looks like a milestone. As if the desert had any use for milestones. How many miles to Babylon? Let's see now. These letters are choked with sand. To those who did not go back, whose bones being nowhere, their signature is for all men who went to their death of their own free will, bequeathing free will to others.
You are a man. The point of you is to give up your life so that others may live.
So new. No, worry. Nobody cares. Went to their death. Of their own free will.
Of their own free will. It wasn't like that with me. It was my mother pushed me to this point, and now she pulls me back. Let's see this ring. Where's it fallen? Yes. There's no mistake. Red no longer. My mother wants me back. And indeed, it is high time. This desert has no end, not even any contour. The blank horizon retreats, and yet retreats, without either rise or fall. Repeats, retreats, defeats. There is no sign of a tower. You could see a tower from...
Wow. Yeah. Retreats, defeats, repeats, making it flat and plain, just as he's describing it. But it's interesting that before we've been given no cues to consider as something other than a Saharan, duny sort of desert. Now we have a direct connection to the visuals of the poem, of Browning's poem, Childe Roland to the Dark Tower Came. So he repeats the desert is a plain, it is flat, there are no features, and now he's talking about the tower. I think we come now to the moment of the poem this is based on.
Miles, there is not even a knoll. Flatness is all, and nothing. Own free will, as if I, Roland, had ever tutors, trumpeters, women, old soaks and crooked stewards. Everyone I've met has played his music on me. Own free will, 3 words, not one of which I understand. All right, Mother dear, I'm coming. Now, Where are my footsteps? Better follow them back. Back to the forest and through it and so to the shore of the sea. Are these my footsteps? But how small they look. Well, you're a small man, Roland. Better admit it. You'll be still smaller now. But are these my footsteps? They are so near together. And I thought I was walking with great strides. Oh, Roland, Roland. You thought yourself a hero, and you walked with little steps like that. Now you must watch these niggling footprints all your return journey to underline your shame. What shame to me who never had free will. Their own free will, bequeathing free will to others. Others indeed. I begin to think my drunken friend was right in his subjective tavern. There are no others apart from the projections of my mind. And once that mind is empty, man's a desert. Others? Who are these others? Where can I find them?
Nowhere, Roland. Nowhere.
There. What did I say? There are no others.
You will never find us if you go forward, for you will be dead before we are born. You will never find us if you go back, for you will have killed us in the womb.
What? So I'm an infanticide now.
Not yet, but if you go back.
Who said I was going back?
I thought you had made up your mind.
I never make up my mind. Didn't I say that my mother... Look.
That's my secret. I never make up my mind. It's become a superpower.
I leave it to chance. Chance is as good an arbiter as any. Watch me, you unborn children. See this tiny cactus? I will strip it leaf by leaf. Let that decide. This year, next year, Enamania, you know the game, you unborn children. Now, forward, back, forward, back, forward, back, forward, back, forward, back, forward, back, forward, back. There. The voice of chance, the oracle of the cactus. Back, back. That's what the cactus says. But hold it, you unborn children. Do you think that I let a cactus dictate to me? Back says my love and my frailty, but no, mother, don't pull on the string. Free will or no, I must pay my debts. The debts I incurred the hour I was born. Back says the cactus, but I'm going forward. Mother, don't pull on the string. You must die alone. Forgive me.
I have free will, and yet I must.
Dear, but I tell you, I'm going forward, forward, Roland, into the empty desert, where all is flat and colorless and silent.
That is fascinating. He's already talked about a wheel, which, the wheel in that Browning poem that stretches men out like silk. When he said, I forget exactly what he said just now, but it made me think of the Jared Manley Hopkins poem. And there's that, the world is bleared, smeared, soiled with trade. But bleared, smeared, that expression came into my mind. And then, so we're talking about wheels, bleared, smeared, soiled with trade. Like there's these images of industry ruining things. And now I'm hearing factory noises in the background. Are you guys hearing that with me?
Silent? And what's this? Something new. But a sound of what? Don't say that it's my heart. Why, Roland, you poor fool. Who would think you had one? You must be afraid. It is fear reveals the heart. Aha. You piece of clockwork. Trying to have your little say while you can, before your wheels run down here in the empty desert.
What a piece of work is man.
Empty? Where have those mountains come from? Closing round in a ring. Humpbacked horrors that want to be in at the death. Where's the horizon? A moment ago, this was level. What's the game? A confidence trick, a trap. I am cooped in. A circle of ugly cliffs, a lobster pot of rock. Silence, my stupid heart. This looks like what? This looks like a great circus in ancient Rome. Only there is no audience and no lions. No audience, did I say? No audience? Why, that's Gavin on top of that peak. And Michael. And Dennis. And Henry and Roger. And John and men that I've never seen.
Yeah, it's straight out of the poem now. He's seeing the ones who were fallen. Remember the ones who were brave or fortunate or strong. And there's this, I'm just fascinated by the use of the circus, because there's a circus in the original poem as well, but much earlier. I don't think I'll dive into it. I want to continue hearing.
Outlandish clothes. Some of them even in armor. And there's blind Peter with sight in his eyes, for he's pointing. And my father, too. I remember him from the album. And my tutor, he must be dead, looking graver than ever. And well to the front, of course, my dear old Sergeant Trumpeter.
Remember that this whole work started with the question, what is tradition? And now here he is, being observed by the dead who worked toward this same quest.
Roland! Hold that note at the end! Be ready, old boy! This is it! Strike a good blow to avenge blind Peter! Your heritage, my son!
Your heritage.
Fight!
Fight? Fight whom? This circus has no lions.
No lions, Roland? Have you forgotten your lessons? I never mentioned lions. It was a dragon. And only that, for lack of a better name.
Yes, dragon, of course. But you told me, my good tutor, the dragon would not appear until I came to the tower, and until I had blown my blast. Well, there is no tower.
That fooled me, Roland, my brother. Look over there, Roland, my son.
Where? Oh, that little thing. Like a wart coming out of the ground.
It's growing, Roland. It's growing. You should recognize it from my lectures. It's the Joker, all right.
You should recognize it from my lectures. Love it.
The tower! The dark tower! Quick, the land! Oh, sling your trumpet!
But
it's growing, my son. Waste no time.
It's growing. Yes, it's growing.
Growing. Oh, look at it. Strike a good blow for us unborn children.
And strike a blow for all dead mothers.
Jump to it, Roland! Waste no time! Remember that challenge call! Blow it the way I taught you!
Yes, dear friends, I will blow it the way you taught me. I, Roland, the black sheep, the unbeliever, who never did anything of his own free will do this now to bequeath free will to others. Ahoy there! Tower! Dark Tower! You're getting big! Your shadow is cold upon me! What of that? And you dragon or whatever you are, who make men beasts, come out! Here is a man! Come out and do
Be steady as I raise the trumpet so. Now, fill my lungs.
The Dark Tower starred Robert Farquharson, George Bishop, Denise Breyer, Lakeman Brown, Desmond Jordan, Violet Marcasita, Hedley Anderson, Alan McClelland, Charles Leno, Andrew Sachs, Leo McKern, Richard Burton.
Yeah, quite a trumpet, huh? Man, what a perfect ending. I mean, just like the poem, right? I mean, the moment of truth of the poem is the blowing of the trumpet. We don't even see the dragon. Fantastic. I'm going to reread the last line of Browning's poem. There they stood, ranged along the hillsides, met to view the last of me, a living frame for one more picture. In a sheet of flame I saw them and I knew them all, and yet, dauntless, the slughorn to my lips I set and blew. Childe Roland to the Dark Tower came. Oh, man. What fantastic stuff. I really thoroughly enjoyed that. Oh, yeah. You know, I mean, I was actually quite emotional there for a little bit. You know, I told myself not to cry on stream. It was fine. It was easy to do. Oh, man, great stuff. Well, I appreciate you guys accompanying me, and if you're watching this later, I hope that it is satisfying for you as well. Man, I mean, I mentioned at a certain point in the stream that the last fighters for Christendom of the British Empire produced some beautiful work. I mean, this is my first time hearing the Dark Tower. I would put it right up there with choruses from The Rock, T.S. Eliot. I mean, just absolutely gorgeous stuff. Up there with Auden. Yeah, man. Fantastic. Okay. Yeah, man, there's so many themes that I want to unpack from this. I think that what will end up happening is, you know, several videos will end up coming from it. I'm interested also to find a transcript, to find the text of this thing. I'm very, very glad that I only listened to it. I'll put the link to the archive.org file that we were listening to in the description to this video. And yeah, man, that was awesome. Thanks.